Hey guys, welcome back to Popverse. Today we're diving into episode 1 of Netflix's newest K-drama obsession, Resident Playbook. It's intense, emotional, and packed with raw reality as we follow a group of OB-GYN residents trying to survive both medicine and life. So grab your coffee because this ride is real. The episode opens with a gripping, heart-pounding scene, a critically ill patient being wheeled into the ER as doctors scramble. The center of it all is Owie Young, who's being pushed into an emergency surgery situation she's clearly not prepared for. When asked to open the patient's body, she hesitates, explaining she's just an intern. Her senior yells at her, saying there's no time for hesitation, the patient is dying. Young pleads that she's never done this before, but eventually she has no choice but to make the incision. Things escalate fast as she's asked to reach inside the body, but Young freezes, panicking because she's not even wearing gloves. Her superior explodes, furious that she's more worried about gloves than saving a life. As Young stands there, overwhelmed and shaking, her senior screams, "You'll never be a doctor! Get out!" Just when you think it couldn't get worse, Young wakes up. It was all a nightmare. In real life, she's getting a massage, trying to relax, but the tension is written all over her face. She admits to having bad dreams, clearly haunted by her past. But the moment she realizes she can't pay for the session, things spiral again. The masseuse threatens her, and in a surreal twist, it feels like Young is being restrained for surgery, but this time she's the patient. That haunting moment fades as Young wakes up again, this time for real, sweating, breathless, phone ringing off the hook. It's the bank, reminding her that she's deep in debt and time's running out. The bank, she's shocked to see her loan officer is none other than a former doctor. The woman doesn't sugarcoat things. Young's overdraft is due, and she needs to bring proof of employment if she wants to delay payments. But Young pushes back, saying she doesn't want to work. The environment just doesn't suit her, but reality isn't offering her many options. Desperate, she turns to her older sister Joo-young, who manages to get her a late placement as an OB-GYN resident at Yulje Medical Center. Young arrives at the hospital in mismatched clothes and zero confidence. She tries to wave her sister off at the gate, but Joo-young refuses, reminding her that they owe 50 million won and this job is the only way out. "You don't get to quit," she tells her, firm but loving. Young sighs, puts on her brave face, and walks into the hospital. Inside, the new residents are already gathering. One of them is Koo Do-won, a senior resident, and surprise Young's secret boyfriend. But when they cross paths, she makes it very clear, no one can know they're involved. She brushes him off coldly, and he tries not to take it personally. Young meets her fellow first-year residents, Kim Sabai, the genius with zero emotional intelligence, Nam-kyeong, who awkwardly reminds Young they went to high school together, but Young doesn't even remember her, and Jae-il, a former idol-turned-doctor who introduces himself like he's still on stage. The awkwardness is real, and when Do-won reveals that Young used to be an intern here 2 years ago but left for a local hospital, tension in the room spikes. Soon, Young is thrown into her first surgery alongside the infamous Professor Young-min, nicknamed the Witch. Young barely remembers how to handle a scalpel, and during the operation, she messes up something as simple as disposing a suture. Her hesitation leads to subtle scolding, but her mentor doesn't waste words. She just gives Young a look sharp enough to cut. Meanwhile, we see the chaos of the hospital through different eyes. Sabai is cold and clinical, taking patient consent forms without showing emotion. Jae-il is fumbling through his rounds, panicking at every little symptom. Nam-kyeong is trying to keep it together while juggling a difficult patient and her own insecurities. It's messy, it's loud, and no one knows what they're doing. Young keeps messing up. She's unsure, anxious, and constantly doubting herself. But she keeps going. Later in the cafeteria, she runs into Do-won, who brings her food and teases her gently. There's a warmth between them, but it's buried under rules and secrets. And just when you think she's starting to gain footing, another challenge hits. A pregnant woman is rushed in, she's about to give birth, and there's no time to prep a room. Young is the only one there. Terrified but determined, she delivers the baby in the hallway. It's raw, it's powerful, and for the first time, she doesn't freeze. She acts. Afterward, Professor Youngmin scolds her harshly for misjudging the patient's dilation earlier. But despite the lecture, she acknowledges that Young did well. She even smiles, just a little. "You make one more mistake," she warns, "and you'll find out why they call me the witch." But girl, that smile? That was approval. The episode ends with Young walking away, exhausted but quietly proud. She made it through day 1. It wasn't perfect, but she didn't give up. And in a place where even survival feels like success, that's more than enough. The episode 2 opens with the 4 first-year OB-GYN residents, Young, Nam-kyeong, Sabai, and Jae-il, completely buried in work. They're so overwhelmed by rounds, charting, and patient monitoring that they don't even get a chance to eat. It's a brutal reminder of what residency life really looks like. Exhaustion over everything. Late at night, the group gathers to call Professor Yoon Hae-won, their senior, to report the day's cases. Each in turn reports in, and when it's Young's turn, things go south. Professor Yoon cuts her off mid-report and sharply corrects her, pointing out an error and forcing her to start over. It's obvious that Yoon still holds a grudge from when Young hesitated during surgery the day before. And when another professor, Junho, drops by to chat with Yoon, we get more insight. He praises her hard work, and she casually mentions hanging out with senior doctors, dropping hints that she's gunning for advancement. Later that night, the interns are still at the hospital, laughing over the fact that they're not getting to go home. They know they're stuck. But there's a strange camaraderie growing, shared suffering bonds them. Meanwhile, Professor Youngmin tells Duan she doesn't think the new interns will last. 3 weeks in, and I bet they're already looking for a way out, she says. Duan disagrees. He thinks they'll change their minds when they see their first paycheck. Back in the hospital lecture hall, Youngmin quizzes the residents. Only Sabai answers her questions correctly, prompting Youngmin to joke that she'll just give Sabai private lessons. Sabai glows with pride, but her arrogance also starts to show. Later, a nurse reminds Youngmin that it's time for rounds, and she asks Young to join, not that she gave her a choice. During rounds, Youngmin guides Young on how to manage the patients, while Yoon Hae-won watches silently, clearly judging. Afterward, as Young handles a call about a patient's history, Yoon approaches and coldly snaps, "Try using your brain." Young, confused, is left rattled. Elsewhere, Jae-il approaches a woman named Miso, assuming she's pregnant and trying to offer help. Miso snaps back, "I'm not pregnant," leaving Jae flustered. Resident Yoonmi arrives and takes over. Miso, clearly irritable, mentions feeling cranky, and Jae realizes he's messed up again. Meanwhile, Sabai gets into a heated exchange with a patient named Yoonpyo, who accuses her of being heartless and cold. When Professor Ki-soon asks Sabai to apologize, Sabai flat out refuses, insisting she did everything by the book and has nothing to be sorry for. Later, Jae-il is caught not doing his job when a patient hasn't received their meal. Yoonmi gives him a subtle nudge. It was his responsibility. Jae shrinks in shame. He tries to joke around with Nam-kyeong, who's having none of it. "You're not my colleague, you're my enemy," she snaps. Their friction is real. As they try to regroup, Miso arrives and casually tells Nam-kyeong she needs a dressing change. Nam-kyeong reluctantly agrees. But later, when she vents about Miso's nagging to a nurse, she realizes Miso overheard everything. The awkwardness is thick, and Nam-kyeong is mortified. Back with Young, she's hiding her feelings while pretending to listen to music, but really, she's trying to ignore her pain. Jae joins her and gently asks if Yoon's behavior is bothering her. He tells her about a rumor, that Professor Yoon is competing for a promotion and sees Young as a threat. But the conversation is cut short when Yoon calls Young, saying there's an emergency surgery and she needs to prep for a C-section. Young rushes to prep the room and calls Sang-hyun for help, but he's irritated that she didn't verify things first. After 30 minutes of waiting for the patient who never comes, Young tracks down Yoon, who completely denies giving the order. Young is stunned, and Sang-hyun angrily blames her for wasting time. Another blow. Later that night, Sabai finally builds the courage to visit Yoonpyo again, but she's either eating or sleeping each time. Sabai watches her silently, whispering, "I shouldn't disturb her, but I'm trying." Young, meanwhile, snaps a photo and sends it to Yoon, a daily ritual the professor has started demanding. But this time, Young is done. She starts packing her bag. She's ready to quit. Just then, an emergency alert rings out. A pregnant woman needs CPR in the basement. Young springs into action, racing down to help. She performs CPR until Youngmin arrives and the woman is saved. Moments later, Yoon shows up, pretending she had been in surgery. But Youngmin calls her out. "What surgery?" she demands. Yoon is caught. She was sleeping. Youngmin walks away in disgust. Back at the ward, Professor Ki-soon gently tells Young she did well today. She saved 2 lives. The interns gather in the dark, each of them emotionally drained. Nam-kyeong arrives and then Sabai walks in crying. "Yoonpyo still won't talk to me," she says. Just then, Do-won appears with burgers. The timing couldn't be better. Till eats alone in a storage room, talking to himself. "No one needs me." The same time, Nam-kyeong is yelled at for not doing her dressing duties. She admits she just didn't want to see Miso again. But when a nurse tells her that Miso specifically asked for her, she's shaken. When she enters the room, Miso smiles and says, "I only want you to do it." Nam-kyeong apologizes and offers to bring another intern next time, but Miso refuses. "If you don't do it, I'll complain to your professor." Nam-kyeong nods, agreeing. Later, Sabai breaks down, telling Young that she feels completely unworthy. A professor even tried to remove her from the ward. She sobs, questioning whether she belongs. Do-won interrupts to ask Young to meet him. He needs her help with something. Side, Do-won explains that a patient is being transferred to another hospital and he wants Young to accompany them. Young protests, saying she's just an intern, but he reassures her it's just for her to get fresh air. She agrees. Meanwhile, Nam-kyeong is rushing to eat when she runs into a former classmate who's there for a wedding checkup. She awkwardly agrees to attend the wedding but clearly feels a million miles away from that life now. On the way to the hospital, the patient with Young starts complaining of abdominal pain. Young panics and calls Do-won, who calms her down and says it's normal. Just reassure her. Young does. Later, Nam-kyeong receives a text about Miso. She rushes to the hospital, only to think Miso might be dead. The glasses are there. People are crying. But just as she's about to break down, Miso walks in. She had gone for a walk. Nam-kyeong laughs in relief, and they share a real connection. At the new hospital, Young stays to make sure the patient is okay. A doctor there praises her for her dedication. They chat, drink coffee, and she shares that she's a first year. The senior doctor tells her it's okay to make mistakes. Everyone gets yelled at in the beginning. Even me. Back at Yulje, Yoon is caught in a lie again, and her behavior is exposed. Meanwhile, Sabai finally makes peace with Yoonpyo, who admits she said hurtful things out of anger. They reconcile. The episode ends with Do-won confronting Young, telling her to rest, but also reminding her, "You still have 50 million won of debt." The interns finish their shift, and here they no longer have to report daily to Professor Yoon. It's a victory. They celebrate with food and laughter, finally letting themselves exhale. And that's episode 2 of Resident Playbook. If you're not already emotionally attached to this squad, are you even watching? Come back for episode 3, where things are only going to get messier, deeper, and even more relatable. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your favorite moment below, only on Popverse.